Welcome to Get the Facts, the program that provides you with information on government's policies and programs. I'm Theodore Henry. Now, prank calls are nothing new for the Jamaica Constabulary Force, but what may seem like a joke to the callers is creating significant challenges for the Constabulary's call center. Here to shed more light on the issue, we have with us Deputy Superintendent of Police, Stacey-Ann Powell, and Tania Ricketts, Call Center Manager for the Jamaica Constabulary Force. Welcome to the program, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's jump into getting some facts right now. First of all, I love definitions. What is a prank call? Let's take Lady Ricketts for this one.
Oh my word. A prank call is any call that is deemed mischievous.
Right.
It's not a real call. It's not a real situation. It doesn't define anything that is indeed happening that needs the assistance of the police.
And these are on like the emergency lines, you know.
Definitely, the 119 lines.
What's the frequency with which the call center is getting prank calls
Boy,
these days?
if I told you today, you'd probably find it so unbelievable.
Tell me, man, tell me.
In a 60-second period, probably every 3 seconds, because these persons that make the prank calls, they don't stay on the line very long. Not a lot of them do. So we have those calls every minute, every shift,
Right.
every day. It's just constant.
Every 3 seconds.
Basically, yes.
Wow, wow, and that's something that we see. Is that increasing?
Definitely. There has been an increase due to the fact that it's now summer holidays. And that's where the children come in.
What are you saying? I was
Yes.
going to ask who you think is
Oh,
most
boy.
responsible. I think you just answered that for
Yes.
us. So it's increasing. All right, DSP Powell, I want to bring you here now. Okay, so the call is made. I want you to make this real for us. The call is made, something is reported. I don't know what you're hearing at the call center. How does this translate into real life? It's just a phone call.
It's just a phone call, but in real life, it speaks to waste of resources. It speaks to us not being able to respond in a timely manner to a
Right.
genuine case of emergency. It speaks to psychological impact. Imagine a police officer turning up at your residence, being told that there's a gunman on premises, when in truth and in fact that is not the case.
And you might be responding in force.
And we will be responding because,
Will.
you know, officers
Right.
are properly trained.
Yes, yes. Okay, so what, I really want to get a sense of the work. What's one of the most, I want to say damaging prank calls that you guys have heard?
Damaging prank calls, they vary from ordering for fast foods, fast food. So if for the kids, your
Right.
favorite fast food, they dial us.
Yes?
If it is that some persons have some issues as it relates to sexual advances, our call takers go through that sexual harassment. For persons who want just some general information, not anything that is an emergency that can be dealt with otherwise.
Right.
And starting last year in November, I believe November accounted for 103 bomb threats. And so far, we have had over 129 instances where bomb threats were received. And again, our officers and the other stakeholders in the fight against crime
Right.
responded where these bomb threats are concerned. So you can understand the impact that is placed on the limited resources that we have.
Right.
And in terms of the financial cost, the psychological impact, and the delayed response to a genuine case of emergency.
I like that you mentioned the delayed response. I don't know what manpower is like at the call center, but if you're dealing with one thing, it seems to me, DSP Powell, that a certain call, like a bomb threat, is not just one person answering the phone. It is one person answering the phone, getting the threat, pushing it to somebody else, a whole division mobilized. Am I on the right track here?
Yes, definitely. In responding to a case of bomb threat, we have to coordinate the different resources to respond.
Right.
So we have been focusing on our response time in a general way, especially with our ISO 9001 certification.
Right.
And that sees us responding in town center within 15 minutes, having received, interviewed and dispatched that call,
Okay.
and also having our operatives, the officers on the street, actually attending on those locations. So for town centers, it is 15 minutes, and that is inclusive of the time the call is made to, when we respond to that call.
Right.
And also when it comes to areas outside of the town center, 25 minutes.
25
so
minutes.
that takes some amount of collation and coordination and pulling the resources together, and going back to November when we had over 100 and odd bomb threats coming in.
Just
you
a
can
month.
imagine
Yeah.
what took place during that time when we had the response. And just think about the businesses.
Right.
So we had the wharf, we had schools, we had business places, and I believe last week we had a courthouse.
Yes, we heard about that one.
Yes.
We heard about that one.
So imagine the time, the manpower that is lost, the productivity that is lost for those particular threats that were received.
Right, and this is not just out in the force personnel, even in the call center, because I assume there's a process.
There is a process. In terms of bomb threats, it's all hands on deck,
Yes.
basically. So our staff, they get, excited. It's work. It's helping,
Right.
resolving.
Right.
You get a bomb threat, we're expecting other persons, so we're more keen, listening for other cues, other clues,
Right.
everything.
Right.
So it really has a psychological effect on the staff, because you put so much effort into fixing this situation, getting to the bottom of it, and
Right.
then it's not real.
I'm getting some vibes of that old story that we used to
Yeah.
hear, the boy who cried
Right,
wolf.
exactly.
We're going to go to a break right now, but please stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Get the Facts. We're discussing prank calls and the effect on the JCF's emergency response. Our guests are Deputy Superintendent of Police Stacey-Ann Powell and JCF Call Center Manager Tania Ricketts. Let's jump right back into it. Now, Lady Ricketts, I want to start this one with you.
Sure.
We've been talking about bomb threats. That's a big deal.
Right.
Everybody's attention is drawn. But you also mentioned not pizza orders, fast food orders. They're not just a pizza. And basic things that don't belong on the emergency line. What can you possibly do about these things?
Well, at the moment, we're not able to do much. It's not just pizza. When the children are at school, they call and ask for assistance with their homework.
Homework,
Yes, they're having their simple disputes. They let us know, hey, this
Right.
boy hit me. So what we do currently, well, when they're home, they will say,
Yes,
"Are
walk
you
me
at
through the
home?
procedure, right.
Are you home?" Our call takers, we realize, okay, it's children. You listen, you hear some whispering going on. Are you home? Where's your mommy? Sometimes they walk to that mother or that adult, give the phone, and then we have
Right.
that discussion. Do you know the child called, and then you hear the person saying, "What? Why did you do this?" They really do not know what is going on.
Okay.
So, that is something that we have to deal with. There's not much legislation as it is at the moment
Right.
to handle that. So it's just one call at a time, basically. And we as the boy who cried wolf, it doesn't matter if the same person calls 100 times. We have to take each, because that person who may have pranked us 10 times before may very well have an emergency
Right.
right now.
Man, that's a big heart. That's a
Yes.
big heart
Takes
and
a
good
lot.
policy. But you mentioned that there's not a lot of legislation yet, and DSP Paul, I want to bring you in here. Are there any movements in a positive direction in terms of policy and procedure?
So from a policy perspective, from our office, we have upgraded our SOP, and that has
Wait, you have to help me out here now.
our standard operating procedure
Thank you.
to ensure that our call takers, our agents, carry out the necessary procedures.
Right.
So irrespective, as Ms. Ricketts had indicated, even if we receive the call 10, 15 times, the officer or the call taker, the agent, is going to be responding to you in a professional way.
Right.
From a legislative perspective, though, the Offence Against the Persons Act is the legislation currently that we are able to use to prosecute a perpetrator of prank calls.
So it's not just a call anymore.
Section 9 was used the other day, and we currently have one person before the court who was charged for creating public mischief.
Right.
That coming from the bomb threat situation, and we are awaiting the results of that case.
I won't ask you your secrets and how you went from call to legislative procedures. But,
However, we are pushing as an organization, and those discussions are ongoing as it relates to a stronger legislation that speaks specifically to prank calls. If you look at other countries such as the US, UK, Canada, and some of our counterparts in the Caribbean, they have specific legislation, and if not legislation, penal codes that address the issue of prank calls. So I know there has been discussion around that as it relates to the final decision and the enactment of that particular legislation. We await that with
bated breath. So let me pull that together now from both of you. Part of the response, Lady Ricketts, is internal. You know, how we handle this, how we triage them, how we pass them off, and that's done. And part of it is also legislative, to act as a deterrent.
Yes.
Right? We know the children are cute and all that, but it's not just children, don't it?
So we have adults. Unfortunately, as we indicated, you have some persons who call for sexual favors. You have some persons, yes, you have persons who do that.
Yes.
Our call takers are trained. We continuously have training for them to remain professional. So despite the issues and challenges that they may face, they answer our calls, the calls that I receive, with a smile. You have reached police emergency. How may I assist? What is your emergency? And state their names.
Right.
Or their numbers.
We're in the final seconds of this interview, but the audience is watching, and I won't say anything more about the audience, just that they are watching. I'd like to give you both just a few seconds each to speak directly to our audience. Lady Ricketts, please, you can start.
All right. For each prank call, it's a cost. It not only comes at a financial cost or a psychological cost, but it comes at a cost. It could be somebody's life that you're stopping from being saved. It could be someone that you know, and who knows. So we're just, imploring members of the public, parents, pay attention. Sometimes just go through your children's phone. You may very well see 119 as a dialed number. So we're just asking for your support in that, so we can cut that time and be able to assist more real callers.
Yeah, yes, people.
Support us in the fight against crime. And in supporting us in the fight against crime, act responsible.
Yes.
If you don't have an emergency, do not call 119. If you have a need to get information, use the correct means to get that information. Outside of that, we will continue to answer our calls professionally, and where it is that there's a need for prosecution, rest assured that the JCF will ensure you are prosecuted.
Indeed, on a very strong note, we are ending this conversation. And I do want to underline something that Lady Ricketts mentioned, how the absorbing of resources could one day be something that impacts me.
Yes.
As the caller, the prank caller.
Save a life.
Save a life, it may just be your own. This has been Get the Facts. Our guests have been Deputy Superintendent of Police Stacey-Ann Powell and JCF Call Center Manager Tania Ricketts. Thank you for watching. Until next time, I'm Theodore Henry. Take care.